Hey guys, it's the MedBoys and welcome back to our channel. If you want to do well on your finals, you have to be able to manage your time wisely. And this video will show you exactly how you can do that.
I always try to make sure that I have at least 2 weeks of dedicated studying time for my finals, and I know that can be really difficult because there's so many things at the end of the year. There's papers, there's projects, there's problem sets, and you need to make sure that you can make time for this. I understand that on a personal level because I actually had 6 papers due at the end of this term, and I've also taken 5 to 7 courses since the start of my first year, so it can be really busy. However, if you're not putting in enough time, there's just no way you're going to get the results you want.
In terms of my actual study schedule, the best and most convenient way to create a study schedule is to put all your courses onto one single document. For example, when I study for my finals, I create my study schedule by putting all the courses onto one single page. It just makes it so much easier to reference and to look forward to when you're studying. Notion is a great way to centralize all your courses onto one single page.
Something that's worked for me in the past for virtually all of my exams is to actually give different courses or different topics within a course different weighting. And what I mean by that is to spend more time reviewing a certain concept over another. And you might be wondering why you would do this, but there are actually a few important reasons to consider. First of all, you may be more comfortable with a certain topic over another, so you won't need to spend as much time reviewing it because you can already answer a lot of questions related to that topic. Second, there may be certain topics or courses that are more highly tested on your exams. So to maximize your mark, you're going to want to study those the most. So for me, to give you guys a personal example, sensory motor systems is a really highly tested exam topic for most of my neuroscience courses. So I'm going to want to make sure I review that topic the most. But on the other hand, I have neurotransmitters to study, but I tend to know a lot about neurotransmitters already, so I don't have to do as much review. I can just do a light review and everything will be fine. So I definitely recommend trying to implement this and seeing how it goes.
I also tend to split my studying into 2 sessions. So I tend to study 1 course per session. So for example, I'm going to be studying NROC64 today and PSI-C62 today, both of which are neuroscience related courses. And since this content overlaps, it really increases my retention and my recall.
After we've organized our schedule, now we need to talk about how we go about getting things done. For that, we've organized some tips that always help us through finals, and we hope they'll help you as well.
I always start off my study sessions by setting goals. And these goals don't have to be these humongous goals. They can just be simply reading 20 pages a day. And something like this really helps me stay on track and make sure that I can actually get something done. When I'm trying to study independently, this also helps keep me accountable because it just shows me that I have this checklist and I just have to go through the checklist and I'll be done at the end of the day. For people who are studying in group sessions, if you say your goals out loud to the people around you, then you have to finish them and they're going to hold you responsible for what you said. So because of that, it's a really good strategy and numerous research articles have shown that this is very effective. So I'd also just like to add that this is something that's been super rewarding to me when I check it off my checklist.
Now, ever since I found out about the benefits of spacing out your studying, I've practiced it daily. Numerous studies have shown that this strategy is much better in terms of retention and recall in comparison to mass studying, which is when you do all your studying in one sitting. By spacing out your studying, you can refresh your memory on the subject every few days, and this will also make you feel more confident in yourself. We recommend reading How We Learn by Benedict Carey, as it carries a lot of insight into this method and many other strategies as well.
However, passive learning just doesn't cut it when it comes to exam studies or even your general school studies, and this is where active learning comes in. Active learning is a lot more engaging than passive learning, and because of this, it yields a lot more better results. So that's why it's an essential strategy that you should absolutely implement in all of your study sessions.
So you guys might be thinking, how do you actually implement this strategy? And that's a really good question. I'll tell you how I do it. So what I try to do is I try to crank out as many practice questions as fast as possible so I can quickly learn what the high yield subjects are, because those are the topics that are going to show up the most on these practice questions and on these practice exams. Once I realize that, I can tailor my studying to be efficient and do my work in a smart manner. So for example, I'm taking this course called PSI-C62 right now, which is drugs and the brain. And After doing these questions, I learned that the actions and dynamics of opioids are tested much more heavily than neuroanatomy and neurotransmission. So for this reason, I'm going to dedicate a lot more time to studying opioids and not neurotransmission. But sometimes in certain programs such as life sciences at uoft, there aren't many practice questions available. What do you do then?
Well, the next best thing is flashcards. I've personally used apps like Anki and Quizlet, as you can get through a great amount of content in a very short time. On top of that, you can do flashcards at home, on the subway, or literally anywhere else you can think of. Lastly, try to simplify hard subjects by calling your friends or siblings and explaining the topic back to them as if you were teaching them the topic. This way you'll learn the content much better, and also better be able to distill it down to the most essential points.
The thing about studying is that you know how you do it best. Personally, I'm not a really big fan of listening to music while you study, but I know a lot of people who literally swear by it. At the end of the day, if you believe that listening to music will help you stay more focused or help you study for longer, then by all means, go for it. But I will say that listening to something like hardcore heavy metal may be a problem because of how attention grabbing it is. Instead, I recommend potentially searching up some lo-fi girl on YouTube because this may help you stay a little bit more focused.
So something else I've actually integrated into my study routine and is a really valuable study strategy is something that's called elaborative interrogation. It sounds intimidating, but it's really not. Essentially, what you have to do is take these complex topics and boil them down to its simple parts. And if you can explain it to yourself like that, if you can say it out loud, then you've understood what it really is. And this really helps me because it tells me that I can truly understand what I'm reading and what I'm studying, and I'm not just passively going over it. This has really helped me for something like the nociceptive pathway, which is something that's very complicated. It's also notable to say that for certain types of studying, it's also very important to draw out diagrams because that might help you through the stages of glycolysis, for example.
Something we've talked about a lot in our videos is context-dependent learning. This is because it comes up over and over again in our psychology curriculum and is backed by so many research articles. Basically, the concept explains that you should try to study the exact same way you'd be taking an exam. If you're taking an exam on a table, then study on a table. If you can't use your phone during an exam, then don't use your phone during an exam. This also means you can't study on your bed and you can't have a YouTube video playing in the background. These small little habits will help you recall a lot more information during the exam, which will definitely raise your marks.
I'm sure you all must have had that feeling where you're studying, but you just can't seem to remember or process any of the information you looked at. That's a great sign that you need a break. A break just really helps you get that mental reset and get that renewed motivation to continue studying. And it's really healthy for you too. So some of the things that I do on my break times are just to play video games. It's a great way for me to just play some Call of Duty, de-stress and take my mind off of the studying. Another thing that may not seem very conventional is to actually work out. But it's another great way for me to take my mind off of things while also staying fit. So I really recommend just taking a break and making sure you get that reset.
I tend to think of my schedule as dynamic. I try to figure out what's working and what's not working. And whatever's not working, I need to change really fast. By doing this, I'm making sure that I'm not wasting time on things that are simply not working for me, and I could switch them up in a way that actually helps me and helps me be a lot more efficient. So that's something that you guys should try to adapt as well. Just make sure that you're ready for change. Some things will go the way you planned and some things you didn't. So just make sure that you can adapt really quickly so that you can get the best results for your finals at the end.
That brings us to the end of the video. We hope you learned something and good luck on your finals. On another note, we're thinking of moving away from the presentation style videos and moving into these types of videos. So if you do like them, please comment and let us know, and please subscribe.